Hi there, it's Asia. I hope you're all feeling very well. Today, I want to talk about something very important, and I'm sure it's gonna be very interesting for all of you. And now, wait a moment. That's not right. Sorry, everyone. Let's start again. Hi there, it's Asia. I hope you're all feeling really well. Today, I want to talk about something incredibly important, and I'm sure it's gonna be useful for all of you. Do you get the idea? That's right. We're gonna talk about how not to use the word very all the time. We're gonna look at words we can use instead of very to make our writing and speaking look and sound more fluent and natural. And now, let's get started. Of course, there is nothing wrong with the word very. I'm not saying never use it, but there are lots of interesting alternatives. Also, very is one of those words we use far too much. A little bit like the adjective nice. A lot of English people use nice all the time. Nice day, nice dress, nice cup of tea. Thinking of nice, let's look at some simple grammar. Nice is an adjective and we put it before a noun. Nice day. What about very and the other two words I used before, really and incredibly? Well, they are all examples of adverbs. We usually associate adverbs with verbs, but we can also use them before an adjective or an adjective with a noun. A typical pattern is when we use the verb be with an adverb and an adjective. That's when we say things like, I'm extremely interested in history. Are you really sure this is the right address? Let's take the adjectives good and bad. Think for a moment about different events, different experiences. Were they good or bad? How good? How bad? Think of a kind of scale from 1 to 10. If 5 is just, say, good, anything from 6 up will make that sound stronger. The adverb we use with good can do it for us. We say it intensifies the adjective. That's why we call this type of adverb an intensifier. An intensifier is a word, for example, very and extremely, that makes the meaning of another word stronger. Look at these examples. It was really good. The film was incredibly good. It was an incredibly good film. It was an extremely bad experience. Let's vary this with some other adjectives. How about cheap and expensive? The food in that restaurant is always remarkably cheap. It's a remarkably cheap restaurant. In summer, everything is exceptionally expensive. And on the subject of summer, let's try with hot and cold. Yesterday, the day was unusually hot with temperatures well above average. It was a particularly cold night because there were no clouds. Simple examples, 7 alternatives to very. All of them intensify the meaning of the adjective or the noun group. And there is something else we need to notice. We can put all the adjectives in our examples on a scale. Remember what I said, from 6 up. So think of some more adjectives like these. Beautiful, intelligent, important, interesting. All of them we think of on a scale. Some people call these adjectives gradable, simply because we can make them neutral with no intensifier, or we can make them stronger when we use one, or we can actually make them weaker, go from 1 to 4, if you like, when we say slightly expensive or a bit cold. Other adjectives are different because they belong at either end of the scale. They represent extremes, 0 or 10. They are ungradable or strong. It's not just cold. It's freezing. The house is destroyed. And this PDF guide is free. We can't use very. The intensifiers that go with these adjectives are different. It was absolutely freezing last night. Or the house is totally destroyed. And this PDF guide is completely free. Indeed, I have a PDF guide with synonyms for 20 most common adjectives used in IELTS writing, and it is completely free, and you can download it via the link below or at the end of this video. When we start learning English, we tend to use very with a simple adjective because we haven't learned a more precise word that expresses what we really want to say. For example, most of us learn angry before we learn furious, so we say very angry. I've chosen 6 examples. First, the 6 common adjectives. I'm very happy, very hungry, very tired. It was very good, very damaged, very scary. See what happens when we use a strong or ungradable adjective instead. I am absolutely thrilled, absolutely starving, totally exhausted. It was absolutely fantastic, totally destroyed, absolutely terrifying. Now, before we move on to think of some ways we can effectively cut down on the use of very in our writing and speaking, taking some real IELTS questions as our guide, there is one more very, or should I say, extremely important aspect to study and practice: collocations. You know what they are. Collocations are combinations of words that occur frequently in the language. With intensifiers, there are common combinations that are well worth noticing, remembering, and using in your own speech and writing. The first example I have chosen is the intensifier highly. I think it's useful especially when we look at the words it often combines with. Let's see. The company has been highly successful for many years. Her exam results confirm that she's highly intelligent. It is highly likely that robots will replace humans in many jobs. Walking is a highly effective way to keep fit. His appointment as minister is highly controversial. A second useful intensifier is utterly. This is synonymous with completely, totally, and absolutely. But please be careful. Notice how it frequently combines with negative adjectives. Look, this suggestion is utterly ridiculous. What happened was utterly absurd. This dictionary is utterly useless. I would be utterly incapable of working as a teacher. On the other hand, to say something like the picnic was utterly fantastic sounds really strange. We just don't say that. We would say the picnic was absolutely fantastic. One more example. This time it's deeply. We can use it to replace very when we're talking about serious topics. Here are 2 examples. We should all be deeply concerned about the housing crisis. Or many societies are deeply divided on the subject of private education. Deeply is all about strong feelings and opinions. We can be deeply sorry, deeply grateful, and of course, deeply in love. Right, let's pause for a moment and just go over what we have so far. First, we have some intensifiers we can use instead of very when the adjective or adjective with a noun is something we can place on a scale or grade. Here they are again. Really, incredibly, extremely, remarkably, exceptionally, unusually, particularly. Then, the intensifiers we use when the adjectives are ungradable or strong. Completely, totally, absolutely. From there, we went on to look at some very useful intensifiers that combine or collocate with certain adjectives in special contexts. Here they are again. highly, utterly, deeply. Now, even if this video could last all day, I wouldn't have enough time to show you how all these intensifiers I've mentioned and others frequently combine with adjectives and noun phrases to make interesting collocations. But what I want you all to do is to take special notice of these words and how they combine whenever you are reading or listening to English. This is so very important when you write or speak. Hey, did you notice I said so very important instead of extremely, incredibly, or even vitally important? Another new one for your collection. To show you how we can use them effectively, let's look first at ways to use them in IELTS writing tasks, and then we go on to IELTS speaking. Using a range of intensifiers correctly will help push your band score up. So let's start with task 1, general training, but this example will be useful for everyone. We need to write a formal request. This one is about leaving some important papers or documents at the hotel and writing to the hotel manager asking to return them. How about this? I would be extremely grateful if you could send me the documents to my office address. Moving on to task 1, academic, where we're given data in charts. Let's imagine we have percentages of foreign migrant workers in several countries. We could write, both country A and country B have remarkably similar percentages of migrant workers, or the total percentages of migrant workers in country A and country B are remarkably similar. Task 2, whether in general training or academic, is where we really need to be at our best. Our writing style has to be formal. Let's say our topic is a classic. To what extent do you agree or disagree? The statement could be, university education should be free for all students. Let me outline one particular problem. There are many who are deeply concerned that university students are suffering financial hardship. Later, I want to state my position. I am not totally convinced that higher education should be free of charge. Or if I want to explain my view in more detail, it is highly likely that many students from lower income families will not be able to pay for their studies. Their right to study cannot be denied, and therefore it is absolutely essential that their tuition fees are waived. And the IELTS speaking test? Well, we all know that we don't speak the same way we write. It's a lot less formal. We're gonna use more idiomatic expressions, and especially in parts 1 and 2 of the speaking test, talking about ourselves. How could that affect our intensifiers? I think when we speak, we use different intensifiers, and very is one of them. We also use really, as well as words like quite and pretty. Quite can either mean relatively, in other words, not a word we use to make the adjective stronger, but just to modify it, to put it somewhere in the middle. But when we emphasize it, when we say, for example, your essay is quite good, then we really mean that it is very good. Pretty is commonly used in the same ways as quite. Look at this answer to part 1 question. Did you enjoy science classes at school? I've included other intensifiers as well. Science, yeah, those classes were really great. I was pretty good at science subjects, especially chemistry. We had this teacher who was absolutely brilliant explaining things, and I think that's the reason why most of us liked chemistry so much. Moving on to part 2 and part 3 of the speaking test. It's time to mix these more colloquial intensifiers with the ones we tend to use more in writing. What if we get this question in part 3? What jobs are most useful in society? Look at this possible reply. Well, it's extremely difficult to say. Most people would agree that doctors, nurses, and teachers are absolutely indispensable in any society. And you have to be totally committed to do these jobs. IELTS examiners notice your use of intensifiers. Spend some time to work on them. If you do, it's highly likely that your band score in lexical results will be remarkably high and you will be extremely happy. Right now, you can download the list of synonyms for 20 adjectives commonly used in IELTS writing. It's absolutely free. Thank you for watching me today and good luck with your preparation and your exam. Bye!